Hey, Pragash, how's it going, man?
Good. Ralph,
It's
how
been
are
a,
you?
it's been a while since we've seen each other like in person. This is, like I think it was last time we saw each other was probably 2 years ago at dinner. You been good? Your family's everybody's good?
Yeah, everybody's good. You're right. I mean, it's been what, just over a year now working from home. From last March. So you're right. Probably over 2 years now. We haven't seen each other. I haven't been out there, and we've just been traveling for work, and that's about it.
Yeah. Look, I'm shocked. You told me you left the New York area. You're down over in Missouri. I know that's a good move for you because you make good decisions. So I'm just still like, whoo, Missouri from New York. Don't hate me, fans out there or people out there for saying that. But let's get down to it. So Prakash, man, you know this is going to be one of those conversations where you're going to build some bridges for me because right. So right now you are the executive vice president of operations for Altice USA, right?
Hmm.
Guys, doing you're probably about 10 billion or so market cap,
Yeah.
uh,
Revenue. Yeah. Hmm.
in revenue, and so when I look at the span of what you're responsible for, you have field services, construction, design engineering, outside plant operations, and business process, even market expansion strategy for new build initiatives. So when I start thinking about you forming these new teams and building these units, these business units up, how do you go about doing that where you are able to find the appropriate leaders or appropriate managers and build to scale for that size business?
For me, when I look at for talent and leadership, it's very important. Instead of just going outside the company and looking for talent, I always look at what we have within the company. And for me, I'm a leader that I would say, I do roll my sleeves, not just looking at, the 30,000 foot level, right? You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I tend to gravitate to folks that actually have done the work previously versus just, what I mean, managing an organization. So if you look at my team, most of my leadership team consists of individuals that previously, in some shape or form, have personally did the groundwork, like doing construction, knows how to go do splice fiber, you know what I mean. I have operation leaders that actually their previous life, they run billing systems, you know what I mean, and
Yep.
things like that. It's not just leaders for being a leader, you know what I mean. So it's more about, my philosophy is surround myself with people that know more than me, so they can push up versus pulling me down, you know what I mean. So that for me, I'm here to guide them, to give them direction, to do things differently, and they are there to support me to look at new things that we want to do. How do we approach on construction, how do we execute the program better, right?
Yep.
In operation, it's all about, you're always going to have issues in operation. It's how you mitigate your issues, how you minimize your risks, right? And how you get to, quickly time to market. Those are things that we looked at. And I believe, we always going to have talents gap, but how do we utilize the talent we have and bring people along, right? I mean, that's kind of been my philosophy. I mean, at some point, sometimes I also look at talent from outside, if you have to. But traditionally, it's been folks that, been doing this function for a while in their career.
So I get you're growing from the inside organically and just said build them up. Now the question in this environment is, are you proactive or are you reactive? Reactive meaning you're waiting for resumes to come in. Proactive meaning you're looking, you spot that talent, you say, you know what, we need to get build a bridge, and just in case that person becomes available, and we get to go in and snatch that individual up because there's a large. You mentioned the talent gap, right? But you got competitors out there who are hungry for talent as well. It's a slim job market. So what's your philosophy on that part right there?
Internally, you are right. I mean, I talk to folks outside the organization all the time on talents, because to your point, sometimes you find talent from outside but you don't have a fit for it, right? You kind of wait and see when you have a fit, you can bring talent internally. Also, sometimes I look at talents, not even sometimes from my organization. I look at folks, from, say, product team to join operations, or folks that have a lot of business operation experience, you know what I mean, to join operation. Because Because at the end of the day, I look at folks that, can solve problem, can think quickly, and develop a solution that we can execute and improve the business, right? I have folks in my group that manage our KPI business performance. Background is mechanical engineering. You know what I mean? So it's not he never thought that that's a path that he's gonna go in his career. I spotted the talent. He started in the field, and we develop him to take on additional role. So to your point, you're right. You see talents, and then you say, you know what, this is a good talent. What can I do to bring him forward over time, right? If you look at some of the leaders in our organization, I have a leader that run my entire construction group, which is a large group. You probably recognize the name Mike Alexander. He's very active at NAMIC. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And he's been with the company for some period of time, and he's a talent that we know can deliver. But Mike's come from the field background. Used to work on constructions, and now he's managing the entire organization. So you're right. I think you have to spot the talent, and then how can you bring them along to take on additional roles.
So you've been highly successful in coming from being very technical. I mean, you have an EE degree, right? You have patents in the technical patents in the field. How did you translate that technical competence over into being a good people leader? Because as we were talking earlier, I told you when we were at dinner and we were talking, you get to a point where you talk with individuals and you can say that's a good person, or that person is somebody I want to work with, report to, however that, by that personality. Sometimes we get into roles and we forget about people. We just, think about ourselves in certain cases, but that's not the mark of a great leader. The mark of a great leader is a person who makes other people around them feel good about themselves and get them to do what they would normally not be able to accomplish. And you are doing that across so many verticals within your organization. Technical skill sets don't usually translate over into that capability. How did you make that transition? Or was it ever really a transition at all? It was just you had good communication skills.
It was. When I was at Charter, early in my career, I left Charter. I moved on from Charter in 2006. To me, when I joined Bresnan Communication, is when I really expanded my, I would say, thinking or view of, telecom company, cable, more about how to run the business, not just as an engineer, build product and launch product. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Start looking. I mean, we were a smaller company, so we kind of everybody have to do more than their role. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the benefit of that was I got to learn a lot about the business. That's when we basically built a company that we end up selling the business to Cablevision, right, in 2010. That's where I learned a lot. The group there, the mentors, starting from Mr. Bresnan all the way down to the CFO, the president of the company, the at that time the operation leadership. It's really about us building the business, because we all have what I call it stake in the business. If we make it, we all
everybody's eating.
we'll benefit from it. If we fail, we all will fail, right? So that really taught me what actually I need to know to run the business, not just from engineering standpoint. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can have the best technology if you can not deploy it on timely manner. Comes with a lot of issues, or not that simple for consumer to use it. You're not gonna make it, right? So that's where I learned about the business, and then start to grow from there. So when I start looking at talent, people surround me, I tend to look at folks that can think beyond their scope. I call it more, I think there's terms out there looking at, a horizontal leader versus vertical leadership. You can look at across the organization and say, if I do this, what will be the impact to the other group? Not just, I'm just going to focus on what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's the thing that I think about night and day, that keep me up at night. If I do this, what will happen down the chain? You know what I mean?
Yep.
I feel that if you have leadership or individual that start to think that way, you will see that they tend to look at those horizontal structure when they do anything in their life. You know what I mean? They're not going to just look at my piece.
Yeah.
I think we have leadership or leaders that is good at that one sliver of their skill set, but can't look the breadth beyond.
Which brings us back to that original question on you having all of that, that under. So you are on the national board with NAMIC. So obviously you're knee deep in, mentoring, networking, sponsorship, etc. What mentors did you have along the way that really helped, solidify your bearings and got you on the right track for your growth?
I would consider myself as lucky or fortunate. I've had good bosses that I work with, along the way, from my charter days all the way now with Altice. You know what I mean? I have great bosses that I've worked with that give me, I think, what they have done for me is give me the latitude to make mistakes and challenge things and develop new ideas or approach. You know what I mean? That was one thing I think that from the college to now, I've had that, I call it luxury. Not everybody had that opportunity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I joined the cable industry in 1999, it was the boom of cable. So I get to learn a lot of things. I get to try new things that, try and error, breaking things, making things work. So I got good mentor there. The CTO there at that time was Wayne Davis. The CEO was Carl Vogel. And then when I went to Bresnan, I got good mentorship there, all the way from Mr. Bresnan down. And then I joined Cablevision the same way. I have good operation leader, Will Hildebrand, known name, Jerry Genova, in the company. And then when I joined Altice, the same way, Hakeem Bubazin is my boss. And we all somehow, I got paired with people that has the same mindset and same way and ethics of work. So it was that kind of create the path. I can sometimes say, I'm lucky, or maybe maybe I've planned it right that it works that way. I don't know, but but I haven't not, I would say, major issues with my management bosses. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've had good relationship, and they took me along the way.
I like to believe that if you plan accordingly, you have a good strategy, you got, some good tactics in there, typically you can get 90% of the way and you're only relying on 10% for luck, right? If it's the inverse for you, strategize 10% of the time and 90% is luck, you're in a bad space. Yeah. But talk to me, you didn't mention Paul Allen. I mean, what did you get from him? I mean,
not many people was aware of that. I mean, we at early in the cable days in 99, 2000, Paul Allen was very involved with cable. Not many people know that he was one of the largest investor at Charter at that time, when Charter when we went public and acquired large cable companies. And what he was interested on, really creating what his vision was an early vision at that time called the wired world, which now is wireless world, right? But his vision was that the core of the vision is still there. It's about where we can make sure people can get content from anywhere, any device, anytime. He said we need to create a platform, for the lack of a better word, a portal for consumer to get to any content they want, right? So it's basically, if you look at it right now, one of the, you look at your set-top box right now at home, you can get content from anywhere you want, right? You can get content from your traditional cable, you can get your streaming content, and it's also a gateway. So Paul had this vision in early 99, 2000. That's where we need to be. It took a bit longer to get there, but, but the vision was there. So he was driving to that vision, and it was interesting to see someone that with that kind of vision. This we talking about, almost 20 years ago. Yeah. And we're seeing that now lately with all the streaming device out there, basically doing exactly what he thought it should be 20 years ago.
So let me pivot a little. Right now, you see all of the corporations, sort of pivoting, rightfully so, to some level of diversity, inclusion in their planning for leaders. You being a member of NAMIC, where does your head revolve around that as a topic? I mean, do you see it as a good thing, a bad thing?
I think there's benefit in looking at talent from all the lenses, right? You look at diverse talent, help you in a way develop solution. That's what the market demand for, because your consumer are diverse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to what better way to get into the mind of the consumer if you have talent that behave the same way as the consumer, right? For the lack of better term here. So I think there's benefit, because there's some challenges when you go and you want to deploy product in certain community if you don't know the insight of how those folks, the community think, right? You know what I mean?
Yep.
To your point earlier when we were talking, you have community in the South, you have community in the Midwest or East Coast. Sometimes when you develop content, when we were at Bresnan, there's certain content we would not put on our network because the community that we serve.
Yeah.
So I think having that diversity will help you with content creation, with product development. And I don't think, then you get more, what I said earlier too, more breadth on what you offer out there that kind of meet, I would say, say 80% of your consumer versus pigeonholing your product to, subset of your consumer. So I do think that's valuable. I mean, even if, at Altis, we are pretty bold with our D&I initiative, you know what I mean? Being diversity and inclusion, not just from race and gender, right? We look at, situation with people that, how do we help folks with accessibility? You know what I mean? Those are things also we look at. I mean, like product development, right? Accessibility important. We even go down to look at, when we put together our retail environment, how can people assess the store? Way back when, I would say 10 years ago, we didn't think about that. You know what I mean? We just say, okay, this is a store. This is how we're going to do it. You know what I mean? We don't get those feedback from others, right? Now we start thinking that way because the consumer demanded and the market demanded. I think it's a good thing.
So I'm gonna get you out of here on this one, right? Because you're, like you said, you're heavy in NAMIC, you're ELDP member. From this interview, people are going to know that you have a variety of views, thoughts, opinions on a variety of topics, which sort of goes in alignment with what Altis has said they're going to make you responsible for. When you start thinking about networking and how beneficial it is in our industry for people to grow and meet new individuals to eventually get to a level of mentorship and potentially sponsorship, how did networking work for you? And what advice would you give to individuals out there who are a little shy about going out and wanting to be into that networking scene?
I think, during the pandemic, it's been a bit tough with people meeting. I mean, all our meetings, and even the other day we were at the NAMIC board meeting, we have been doing everything remotely through Teams, right? And I think, if you can find times to meet person to person, I always look at it. If I want to, if I had to, I would say, get into networking or meeting with someone, I try to find someone that has a completely opposite background of myself. You know what I mean? Because it's not so much about connecting with someone that you're familiar with. Like, for me, more exciting to learn from someone that I don't know anything about what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I try to look at the opposite, because part of networking and mentoring, it's good to get the different view and perspective. One of the challenge of engineers you brought up earlier, how can how do I get into operation and managing organization? We tend to look at everything as engineering, black and white, right? There's more to that when you're running an organization. You brought up diversity, you know what I mean? So having learned from people with different background give you better perspective, in my mind. versus just looking at what we are familiar with, because it's always easy to stay and do what you're comfortable with versus learning new things. I mean, it's human nature, right? We don't like change.
Yeah.
But change sometimes can bring new opportunity and exciting things. Maybe you meet a new mentor that's not in a technical role, and you start to like what he's doing, then you can branch out from what you're doing, right? So I tend to look at, and my advice is, go out there, meet people. You never know how your career I never thought I'm gonna be an operation guys. I always thought I'm gonna be an EE, and spend my entire life doing electrical engineering things. I've
Look
never.
at you now, right? You may have a couple of patents, but yeah, you got a whole bunch of other stuff going on. Well, Pragash, we appreciate you, man. Like I said, you do a lot in NAMIC. You inspire a lot of individuals. You have that technical background, but you've also applied it to so many other areas that becomes an inspiration for those who are technically inclined, who don't know if they can make that jump into people leadership. But here's a clear example of how that works, and it works very well, right? One last thing. You still a Knicks fan?
No, my basketball follow my son. See, where he goes, I goes. He's now with LeBron. You know what I mean?
Oh,
and he's trying to go Lakers.
Lakers.
I can't support any other team. He'll get me in trouble.
Gosh, man, we appreciate you. Look, we're not going to let it be another couple of years, all right?
All right, take care, man. Thank you.